That one carousel kills you sometimes. I mean, that one carousel on video poker machines at Harrah's in Atlantic City. I don't know how many rotations or orbits I've made around there. But my theory is if a machine hits, get up and leave right away and go to the next machine and see if you can't take something down. And that's worked for me both, favorably and very unfavorably. Like if the payoff, it says just paid out like $600, you're thinking that'll never hit again. I mean, it'll be another leap year or so before that machine pays off again. Otherwise, they just put them, on a van and take them right to the airport there and ship them off to Caracas or something, right? Next thing you know, you're seeing the Air Venezuela, and there's that slot machine on it. Speaking of odds, 50-1 you get on the Marlins to win the World Series. 50-1. Would you say no way, Jose Canseco, that the Marlins win the World Series this year? They have a tendency to be in a coma until the 8th inning of a ball game.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden they get some kind of, they get like Panama Lewis comes into the dugout and says, here, drink this. All of a sudden the guy's dick is hard in the corner. What do you got here, Panama? Cuts the stuffing out of the gloves. The guy goes out there, scores a late round knockout after getting the shit knocked out of him the entire fight.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Talking baseball. Yeah, it was a lot of baseball yesterday, Mike Lubie. I don't know how much of that you absorbed, but I would imagine that you were tuned in for some period of time to that Marlins game. Looking at 50-1, my friend. Mind that bird, and here he comes on the inside. Calvin Burrell up the rail has done it again. Didn't happen, though. They stayed in that coma after the 8th inning as well. Can you get badly outplayed in a game where the score is only 4-1?
Yes.
It seemed like they were dominated in that game, did it not? I mean, really had nothing going at any time. There was never a period of time in a game that you said, wow, the Marlins are about to take control of this thing. So they lose the opener and now face elimination tonight, as do 3 other teams in the postseason. So there was a lot of postseason action. I had a ton of stuff going on from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Crowds, for the most part, were great. Oh, were they not? I mean, that Philadelphia crowd was insane. The crowd in Minnesota, I watched a decent portion of that game, the Minnesota Twins in their game as Pablo Lopez was going against the Toronto Blue Jays, and Pablo had a real nice outing. The Minnesota Twins prevailed there for a 3-1 margin. Arizona bounced back from a 3-0 deficit early and had back-to-back home runs, a 2-run shot, and a solo blast to follow. Got into a tie, took the lead, never looked back, won it 6-3 over the Milwaukee Brewers. Which begs the magic question, I guess. You know what? Hindsight 2020, my friends. Would the Marlins have been better off playing the Brewers, who had kind of a lackluster effort yesterday, or the Philadelphia Phillies, who were all gangbusters, man? They were fired up. The entire team looked like they were just electrified by the opportunity to be back in the hunt. And this is one of those things where, you're thinking, okay, this is the payback for last year's disappointment when they got to the World Series, couldn't quite get over the hump. And this was the time they were going to go with, as they called it, unfinished, PHINISHED, unfinished business.
For the PH, okay.
All right, with the Phillies kind of reference in there.
Yes.
You get the
I got it. Thank you.
Cleverness of that. There was some signs in the stands there. No, great crowd. That was tough to go against. It really was if you were the Marlins yesterday. And so the home field advantage loomed very, very large for the Philadelphia Phillies. It also seems like they have a better lineup, does it not, than the Miami Marlins? Although, I don't know. Should we dismiss the Marlins just because they lost one game? I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
You do. I mean, hey, look, there was not a ton of reason to be encouraged by that effort yesterday. It was typical of a lot of the games that we saw this year, and yet somehow the Marlins are in a postseason. They managed to shrug off a lot of negative circumstances during the course of the year. I don't know that dealing without an ace. Now, Luzardo has been good. But when he's not on, and he wasn't particularly sharp yesterday, you would have to concede that, would you not?
They were hitting him early and often. He got into a nice groove from the second and third inning. But in the first inning, they got after him. And then in the fourth inning, they got after him. And then that was all she wrote.
Well, they failed to score in the first inning. That was a real blunder, was it not, by the third base coach? If you wanted to No, pin a loss. I mean, it didn't happen to be a loss, but it could have been. Schwarber's on third. They have second and third, nobody out. Is it Trey Turner that bats third for the Philadelphia Phillies? So whoever was hitting third hits a ball into the right field corner, very playable. I mean, it was clear that the ball was going to be caught, that it wasn't going out, that it wasn't going to land for a base hit. So you're thinking deep enough, though, that you were going to definitely consider challenging the arm of Sanchez in right field, would you not? I don't know. Is he Roberto Clemente or something? But instead of tagging up, Schwarber remained at third base. Now, you could say, well, geez, there was nobody out. You had second and third. Why risk having a double play, fly out, throw to home double play, and then, busting up what could be a big inning? But by the same token, the next guy struck out. I think it was Bryce Harper, and then they got out of the inning and didn't score. So you're thinking, wow, they left a run out there, which I would have definitely. I don't care how slow Schwarber might be. Which is he particularly slow? He doesn't look like he's built for speed.
Did you see him coming around the bases? He's actually lost a ton of weight. I thought he was still humongous. The way he was running around the bases, like he's very slow.
Slow, okay.
Very slow.
I take a shot, man. You know what? The throws has to be at least pretty much online, does it not, to get a guy at the plate? Jazz Chisholm threw a guy out at Castellanos at the plate when he was trying to score from second on a base hit to center field, but. The ninth place hitter was at the plate, and Chisholm plays shallow anyway, and he was practically on second base when he fielded this ball, and he fires one home. It was a good throw. I mean, a nice play, and they got him. But even then, I mean, maybe with a better slide, Castellanos scores. He kind of slid right into the tag. And, I think, you have to be aggressive in these spots, do you not? Don't you always want to challenge the arm of the outfielders unless, the guy is just – got that kind of reputation. You're going against a guy with a classic cannon for an arm, and you're just thinking, okay, we'll play this one safe. But it turned out to be a moot point in a ball game. I mean, you can nitpick a lot of different things when you start analyzing minutia in the postseason.
4-1.
It's one game. It felt like a 10-1 game, didn't it?
The Marlins were never in it at all, even though it actually was 0-0 for 1-0 for 4 or 5 innings. The Marlins the Marlins lineup that I've totally gone after all year proved me right. I mean, they were horrendous. And Wheeler's a good pitcher, but Wheeler's not fucking a Cy Young. I think Nola's their better pitcher. That's going.
He goes tonight, unfortunately.
I don't think Wheeler's their ace.
They'd beaten Wheeler. They had faced Wheeler 2 times. I think he had made 2 starts against the Marlins during the regular season and lost them both. Or the Phillies lost both games.
But not Will. He looked like fucking Maddox last night. Like the Marlins were not getting any. That was a difference. Like even Luzardo, when he was starting, he had 4 strikeouts through 3 innings.
Yeah.
They were making good contact. And we've talked about that. That scares the shit out of me. It's like, okay, eventually they're going to hit the ball. The Marlins weren't. The Marlins were hitting nubbers to second into the pitcher. It was like, oh, they're not seeing him at all. And I was like, okay, this is going to be rough. And you could see it by the 4th inning. I was like, all right.
Josh Bell was the only guy that could hit the ball last night. He had a couple of doubles in the game, went 3 for 4. Nobody else really did anything of any great significance with the bat. You're right about that, Lubie. And it didn't feel comfortable all night long. It was one of those awkward things. It was like a first date gone bad, wasn't it? Where, you get a blind date off the internet or something, or somebody sets you up with somebody. You haven't met them. You haven't really spoken to them much over the telephone, if at all. Maybe a text, hey, meet me at Oceans 234, 8 o'clock. I remember having a date like this with a girl. And she showed up, and I could tell right away she had 0.0 interest in me. And that kind of triggered a reciprocal response where I thought, you know what? I really don't want to be sitting here. I'm going to go ahead and do the gentlemanly thing. And that was almost torturous, isn't it? When you say, you know what? I've had that happen. I don't know. I'm sure people have both sides, or whether it's male or female. And, you have a blind date with somebody. You show up at the door and you realize right away, I have very little interest in this person. And then you think, well, I've already made dinner arrangements and, I bought flowers and the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead with the date and proceed like a gentleman. And then, at the end, I know it's going nowhere, but we'll try to be nice about it. But this was one of those real awkward ones where you sit there the entire time and she has no interest in what you have to say. You're struggling to generate conversation. She's generating nothing, maybe even texting while you're eating dinner. And the two, best words that you could come up with at that time are "check, please."
Exactly.
It was just ugly. So we have Braxton Garrett going today against Aaron Nola, and as you said, Nola probably more of an ace. I think Wheeler's really been the Philadelphia ace for the last couple of seasons. No,
I know he's good. I don't remember him being like the guy he looked like last night. I don't remember that. I remember that's what he was supposed to be for the Mets years ago. I didn't realize he turned into that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. He was just dealing. Like the Marlins had no shot when he was on the mound last night.
I am racking my brain, and I refuse to look this up because I'm trying to dodge gargling with Prevagen every day. But I'm blanking on a lot of names. I can't think of the other guys. It was Matt Harvey. You had Jacob deGrom. You had Wheeler was like the fifth starter. Was it Steven Matz was one of the other guys that was in that rotation?
Harvey, deGrom, Noah Syndergaard.
Oh, Syndergaard. That's right. How could I forget him? Because he's become forgettable over the last several years.
He did nothing. He was Thor. He was the one that got the nickname before deGrom with the hair and all that, and then he became.
Oh, he looked unhittable. I mean, when he first started out with the Mets, when he first came into prominence. But and Steven Matz was the other guy, wasn't it?
Matz was supposed to be the best of all of them, and then he was Mr. Injury before Thor was Mr. Injury, before deGrom was Mr. Injury.
Think about that. I mean, the lone guy that's actually effective anymore is Wheeler, the guy they got rid of.
Yes, yeah, the first one they got rid of. Yep.
You had another pitcher involved yesterday that had a real good outing, as Montgomery was traded from the Yankees for Harrison Bader. Remember that deal? That was a Cashman special a couple of years ago, and Montgomery, has had a nice run. Bader, looked like a decent player for a short period of time, and then kind of flamed out, and the Yankees got rid of him. But it was Wheeler. What was the odd man out? The Mets thought, well, geez, we have this thing knocked. We got four guys that are all studs, and we're going to be dominant for a long period of time in the pitching category. Harvey didn't last long at that level. DeGrom, as great as he is, injured more often than not. And look, Texas, what kind of a hit did they take? Does this guy ever pitch again? Jacob DeGrom for $168 million?
Exactly.
Or whatever he got. I mean, Jacob DeGrom could be right in the same category as Daniel Jones in terms of a waste of $160 million. He might have got more money than that from the Rangers, who came up winners yesterday. So looking around, all of the games, very, very interesting. I watched a portion of all of them, not a lot of that Arizona game, because the Zona game was on kind of against the Marlins game for the most part. So I was reluctant to flip away during the commercials. I'm turning that in. But I ended up, unfortunately, because one of the games was on ABC earlier on Dancing with the Stars when I flipped to the previous channel. What? How did these shows go on forever, man? I mean, same thing over and over again. I guess it's sort of interesting to see people. It was great when they used to have like Kenny Mayne on there or somebody, Master P, a guy that just flat out couldn't dance a lick. And they would get eliminated very early on, but they would usually last past the first week because, that's part of the formula is to make sure that it's the same thing they work in The Bachelor, where the person that is the most obnoxious that you think deserves immediate elimination, that everybody would say, run! And somehow the last rose, the drama builds, and there's that last rose, and she's looking all tense, and the Bachelor goes, Pamela, would you accept this rose? And the audience is going into conniptions thinking, my God, not that bitch. And sure enough, that's kind of the way, it was with Dancing with the Stars, where they always keep the one person that you think should be immediately eliminated and keep them around for like another week. But caught a little of that. Caught a little in the Arizona game. They got the back-to-back home runs after being down 3-0. I believe they were doing one of those in-game interviews with the manager as the score turned around, or right after it did. So they were about to talk to a guy that was trailing 3-0 in the opening round of a best-of-3 series, where he's going to be playing all of his games on the road. 50-1 also on the Arizona Diamondbacks to win the World Series, Lubie. Although they're a long way from winning the World Series just by winning that one game. So it was Texas 4-0 over Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay sets a record for futility in that game. They had 4 errors. I don't know that constitutes the record for futility, but they had the lowest attendance, I believe, in playoff baseball history in Tampa really? For a team that won like 99 games. Lowest attendance. They had 19,000 and change there.
I get we're bad here, but we usually attend play. Like, I don't understand. Is it like, are they protesting? Like, well, I don't understand how they've been consistent winning for well over a decade.
They should be the best supported team in the majors.
I
The
just
way
don't
they
get
operate.
it. I don't understand. Like, because they support the Bucks. Like, the Bucks get fans that they support the Lightning. They're crazy about the Lightning. So, like, I don't understand why. And this team wins every year. Like, I don't understand why they. I feel like it's at this point it's got to. And they're putting the stadium in the same fucking.
Getting a new
place,
stadium, yeah.
but it's in the same place. Like, so they just hate the stadium that much. I thought it was the location that was the issue. Like,
The stadium's a dump, supposedly. I've never actually been inside the building there.
It sucks. I've been there.
I've driven by it, and I mentioned it. I was driving by what looked like just a desolate territory. You're seeing tumbleweed rolling by. All the stores are closed. The bars are closed. And it's a Sunday afternoon, and the Red Sox were playing there in a Sunday afternoon game, and there was nobody there. You could have parked right there by the front door. Had no problem. The Blunder Dome, never, the most attractive of stadiums. They still have the thing where a fly ball can hit the girder and come straight down, and I guess it's in play. But is it true? Is the capacity of that stadium only 25,000, Lubie? That seems odd to me that they would have built a stadium that long ago with such a small capacity, or is it that they tarp all of the seats and only, intend to sell 25,000 tickets to these games? You would think that they could have filled up 50,000 seats the way the Rays have performed over the last several years. New record for futility. The lowest attendance at a postseason game in the history of Major League Baseball. Is that modern history? I mean, in the 1800s, they were still drawing 20,000 or whatever.
I'm sure it's in the last 100 years or whatever. I don't know. It's really weird coming from an area that we are, and I think maligned when it comes to our fans. We go to playoff. Like it's a
postseason we're attending. I mean, the Marlins would have come at least close to a sellout.
Well, we're not going to have home games, but like, especially when we have a perennial winner. Like the other thing is the Marlins always jerk us around. Fine, whatever. The Rays don't. The Rays, even for all the trading off of players, it's a boon for them. They win out of it. Like,
yeah.
I don't get being bitter about a team that wins. Like,
I think about it. They come close to winning. They win 90 to 100 games every year. It seems like in a division that has the Red Sox and the Yankees spending gobs of cash every season. Toronto got into throwing some capital around to try and get players, and here's their division, and now it also includes the Orioles, who win over 100 games this year after being in the doldrums for season after season, and you would think very exciting division. You're going to get a decent number of home games against the Red Sox and the Yankees every season. You have other teams that have, some glamour attached to them that are in that division as well. And 19,000 for a playoff game, a disgrace. That was always a big question, right? I would have thought baseball was a cinch to be a great draw here in Florida, in the state, that they could put other teams in Florida and count on them being successful. It's amazing the absolutely feeble attendance that we've seen for both the Tampa Bay Rays and the Marlins franchises. Because, look, is it not a perfect setup? Baseball is a game largely appreciated by older people. You have older people here. Baseball is a game that was appreciated by people who descended here from the Midwest and the Northeast. Yep. And we have a ton of people from the Midwest and the Northeast here.
Yep.
St. Louis fans. I mean, if you go to the west coast of Florida, it's all rich Midwesterners that live in, like, at least the southern part of the West Coast.
Naples and Sarasota, 100%.
And, you would think that this is a perfect game for them. And now, on top of that, they've made it, even with all the strikeouts, it's far more tolerable to watch a game. I mean, one of the dramatic rule changes that we've seen in sport, besides the 24-second clock. Are you listening, Dean Smith, from hell?
From hell. From hell.
You got to go straight to hell. Four corners. My God. I don't know why that bothers me. It's going to bother me to my grave. Worse than trying to figure out how I could forget Noah Syndergaard.
Because he had a boring-ass offensive system, so you go to hell.
Hell. Straight to hell. That wasn't a boring-ass offensive system. That was beyond a disgrace. My God. It was, just pure and unadulterated. It was ridiculous. It was like taking the game and destroying it. This is a guy that's heralded as one of the great influencers in the history of college basketball. And he single-handedly set out to destroy the game. But that being said, You would think that this was a perfect area. I mean, and you have the warm weather all the time. So I mean, I know the winter is not a time where you see baseball being played, but and interestingly, you did have to go to dome stadiums. I mean, the Blunder Dome started out, with a dome. Did they ever open that dome in Tampa? No. Isn't that permanently closed? Is that a permanently dome stadium?
It's closed. It's closed. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
closed.
We have the retractable dome, but we still can't draw flies here. Unbelievable. Either stadium, it's amazing. The attendance absolutely abysmal at best. If you even want to look at the Marlins getting a little bit of a bump this year, at certain times, it did seem like there were more people in the seats, only because there were never people in the seats before that. I'll never forget. I was working with at the time Sunshine Network. They were carrying the Marlins games, and I worked quite a bit with the guy that directed the games on other stuff. He was also directing pretty much everything else they did. A guy named Tom Hastings, and he was the director on the boxing matches that we used to do, and some basketball games I did on Sunshine Network at the time. And it was known that he had instructed the camera crew never to pan the crowd unless absolutely necessary. Even if a fly ball was going into the crowd, he didn't want any crowd shots at what is now Hard Rock Stadium, because it just displayed that nobody gave a shit about the team. And this is going back years. I mean, we're talking, close to their inception, and in that period of time where after 98 through 2003, they were absolutely atrocious in terms of attendance. But I would have thought baseball would have been a bigger draw here. I don't know about you, but when we used to have those conversations about before the expansion teams arrived, whether or not baseball was going to make it here, I thought, yeah, sure, why not? You got the Spanish people, Hispanic crowd, they should get into it. None of that came to pass, and certainly not in Tampa Bay, where that was just awful yesterday to see that. So you have Texas; they win 4-0 over what looked like a hapless Tampa Bay team in that game, and now have Tampa Bay on the brink of elimination after a brilliant season. Although I wouldn't discount them having the next two at home, but certainly they're on the ropes. All of these teams that lost the first game on the ropes, at least they're not eliminated like they would have been in the past. Minnesota, Pablo, good job against Toronto. Arizona over Milwaukee, and the Phillies win over the Miami Marlins, and all four teams be in action again today. So a lot of exciting baseball on tap, and we'll see. What do you want to do? You want to make a prediction here on today's game? You sound like you're resigned to this being the end.
I'm gonna lose.
Sound like Jim Morrison. This is the end, my special friend. Or maybe, when the music's over, turn out the lights. Where are we going with this? It's too depressing to think that, Lubie. Come on. Have a little enthusiasm. Braxton Garrett, he can do it. That sweeper. He's going to have the Phillies timing off. Certainly left-handers are going to not have a lot of success against this guy, would you think?
I hope you're right. It's about the bats to me. I just want to see them. They seem shook. Like, crowds usually don't matter in baseball. Like, yeah, people, you want home field and all that bullshit, but it usually doesn't actually. In baseball, it's such a fluky sport.
Yeah.
It's not exactly soccer or hockey, but there is a fluke factor to it. Like, that home crowd only matters so much. It mattered yesterday. The Marlins looked shook. Like, the Marlins at the plate. And again, I know Willard got into his own, and he's their ace or their second for a team that was in the World Series. Fine. Again, he's not Randy fucking Johnson. Like, he's not a guy that you're scared to face. And they looked shook. They looked so lost at the plate. I was literally saying, and I don't say this about major league hitters, but I was like, they aren't seeing him well. Like, I don't remember saying that in a long time, but that's what it looked like. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm hoping that is a Wheeler thing. I just don't know. I don't trust this lineup. I haven't trusted it all year. And you're right. Josh Bell looked comfortable. Everyone else looked fucking. Joe Berger looked lost. Chisholm was swinging at garbage. Soler swung at 2 pitches.
Birdie, yeah. He usually has better control. I saw him whiff on a pitch that was just, you were thinking if you ever swung at that pitch, you would just give up the game.
It was 1 and 2, and Soler swung at one in the dirt. It's like, dude, what did you think you were getting on 1 and 2? Like, I was just like, oh, they don't know what the fuck's coming. So, I look, I hope they prove me wrong. What I saw last night freaked me out. Like I did
Broom
not.
or no broom? Broom.
I think they get swept. Yeah, I think the Phillies are coming. That crowd last night was like a college football crowd.
They were great.
They were fucking nuts. Look, when I went to the Marlins in 2003, when they had a chance to close out, and they did with Pudge with the ball, that game was the loudest baseball crowd I had ever been. Last night, the way that people were reporting, it sounded just like it. Like they were fucking in a frenzy.
I don't think anybody sat down, even in the upper deck. I think they stood the entire game, the entire crowd. That was entertaining in that aspect, especially if you had the Phillies on the run line, which was a recommendation that we kind of glossed over a little bit yesterday, made by Stitches in the Post. And I turned out to, be on the right side of that thing. The guy that impressed me, who impressed you? Did you watch much of the other games? Anybody stand out to you?
I didn't get to watch much of the other games. I watched the Marlins, and I was impressed that the Diamondbacks came back from 3-0. Like that gave me hope for the Marlins, and it was a very different affair.
And you had a guy, Royce Lewis of the Twins, hit 2 home runs in his first 2 postseason at bats. And then, how do you say this guy's first name? Is it John Duran, the reliever that came in, the closer for the Minnesota Twins?
Let me see.
Every pitch was over 100 miles an hour.
Oh, God.
It was great. I mean, well, he started out, he threw like 4 or 5 breaking balls in a row that were impossible to hit. Everybody's waiting for this gas to come. And then he just uncorked a bunch of high fastballs, rising Gibson-like fastballs. Right-hander. He struck out, during the season, he struck out 84 guys in 63 innings. So, this is a monster of a closer. His record in ERA, I didn't write down, but I hadn't really heard of him. Had you? Johan Duran, or is that it? John Duran?
I've never seen a name spelled that way. Jhoan. Joan?
John? I don't know. How do you say this guy's name?
I don't know. I've never seen that spelling ever in my entire life.
You would think I probably would have, tried to pay attention and see what the announcer said, but I didn't catch that. He was great. Very, very, very impressive. Luzardo wasn't on his game. 4 innings, 8 hits, gave up 3 runs, could have been more. And the Marlins now find themselves in a real spot. Burns was horrible for Milwaukee yesterday. That's 2 bad outings in a row, so you didn't get much out of your ace in that spot. And Eflin goes today for Zona, so they have a chance maybe. The things stack up very well for them. You see if Milwaukee can bounce back and make something happen. And the Rangers and the Rays, the Rangers just took advantage of a really lackluster effort by the Tampa Bay Rays. Maybe they looked around the crowd and said, you know what? Nobody gives a shit about us. Nobody.
I mean, it's got to be disappointing. I know all year you deal with it, but you would think the playoffs for a team that's been a consistent contender, it shouldn't affect their play, but I feel like it has to. Like they were weird yesterday. They were just making stupid ass errors. Yeah. They couldn't hit the side of a barn.
Nothing. Yeah.
That was weird from that club.
The Phillies players too. I mean, they were as fired up as the fans, were they not? The Phillies players were really into this game. I mean, they were going crazy.
That was annoying.
I dig seeing the enthusiasm that you have among major league clubs. Now that was one of the pleasant aspects of watching the Marlins most of the year. They had tremendous, it seemed like, team chemistry, if you want to call it that under a broad brush. But the Phillies players were just outrageously wild, even early in a ball game. Every time they got a base hit, I mean, they were going nuts, all on the top step of the dugout, and all totally absorbed into the ball game. So didn't bode well for the Marlins. I didn't realize this. Did you, going in? I mean, we didn't mention it yesterday, so we must have been completely unaware of it. I know I was until it was mentioned during the telecast. I did not realize that the Twins, Lubie, had lost 18 consecutive postseason games.
I heard it going into the playoffs yesterday. That was the first time. And
18 straight.
Because they make it a lot. I was like, well, at least they make it, but then they always do seem to lose. I didn't realize they didn't win any games, but I guess they were doing a lot of the one playoff.
It couldn't have just been the one game thing, because this goes back to 2004. They made the postseason, seems like, many times since then, no?
Yeah, they make it a lot.
Unlike play 18 games, they had to make it. I would think, you're talking about 20 years, so it wasn't all one game props. That wasn't even in existence then.
No.
So 18 in a row. It was Vitas Garlitis time, right? Nobody beats Vitas Garlitis 18 times in a row. They managed to lose 18 in a row. Got off to Schneid yesterday with Pablo Lopez looking good. One of those trades, as we talked about, where it's essentially Lopez for Louis Rise, and Rise does a great job for the Marlins. really kind of initiates, is a catalyst for everything they were trying to do from a hitting philosophy, and that is make contact, more contact, strike out less. They did accomplish that. It was a big factor in their success. At the same time, it also, in some ways, was detrimental because did the Marlins lead the majors in hitting in the double plays?
I think so, or they were at least top 30. They were up there. They're horrendous at that.
Yeah, I mean, how do you sort of diss that aspect, though? I mean, many of these double plays, a guy would cream a ground ball or go right to the shortstop. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Would you not rather see that than guys just feebly striking out?
Oh no, I want good contact, but it's a shitty way to end an inning a lot of the time.
Many times, yeah, unfortunately. And as soon as that was mentioned yesterday by the people doing the broadcast, what happened? Guy hits a cheap grounder into a double play to end an inning. So, all right, there'll be a lot more baseball today. Dave Hyde's going to join us in just a few minutes here, the great columnist from the Sun Sentinel. So many things to discuss in what has been the year of the sun here in South Florida. It's just been unbelievable. Sunshine all over the sporting landscape. And so Dave's going to join us in a few minutes, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back with more here on the Defo Show in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:32. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. I don't have to say a lot more about the way I feel about Ric Flair. No respect, no honor. There is no honor among thieves. He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz here, and happy to have you along for the ride on this fine Wednesday. And you know what? I never really conceded that Dusty Rhodes constituted, to me, the American dream. As we've said, a kind of blubbery figure with cellulite and cowboy boots on and an American flag bathing suit that didn't fit him too well. But if Dusty wasn't the American dream, certainly this man could be a candidate.
Yes, he's living it.
And we're hoping he gets some kind of nomination and steam for Speaker of the House. So we welcome to the show the outstanding columnist from the South Florida Sun Sentinel, the great Dave Hyde, joins us here on the program. David, how are you, my friend?
Well, people, I don't think I could screw up our government any more than our elected officials could. So you're right. Let's put me out there as Speaker of the House. I could do it. No problem.
Couldn't hurt.
I don't know you to normally wax political on this program, but yeah, it is amazing. And is Matt Gaetz just a scary-looking cat? I mean, he'd be perfect to follow in the footsteps of DeSantis as governor of this fine state, would he not? I mean, just
how he won his election by 36% just tells you what yahoos there are in our state.
Yeah.
It's our state.
His campaign slogan was "Squat down like a pig." I mean, right out of deliverance.
Perfect example of just hating everything and having no ideas himself. He doesn't like anything, which is fine. But
Perfect.
come up with some of your own ideas. He does nothing.
Why are you in office?
Nothing. No, frightening.
How do we get off on this rant? We're supposed
I don't know.
I don't know. We're on a wrestling rant kind of
like
motif
Defo.
here today, and we kind of want to duck the thing. Now, Jim Sarney asks, "Are you in Philadelphia for these Marlin games?"
I think Mayo.
I am not. Unfortunately, the state of newspapers and our budgets said, just like I didn't do the Panthers till the Stanley Cup Finals. That's just that's the new world, That's where we're at.
Pretty incredible. All right. Well, with your keen sense of observation, you probably can figure things out without necessarily being there. But I would imagine you did you write about the game today? I mean, was that the subject of the Dave Hyde column today?
I didn't. I wrote about them yesterday going into the game, and then I'll probably write about them tonight because either they win and it's a fun story, or they lose and the fun season's over with. So there'll be a lot more conclusions, I guess, to come out of tonight's game.
You would hope, they could force some drama in this series. I thought it was kind of, for a 4-1 baseball game, didn't it seem like they were never in that one yesterday?
Yeah. Well, Zach Wheeler was so good. Let's face it, Luzardo pitched a representative game.
Yes.
Not great, but here's his first playoff start. He's really your third, fourth starter right now in his career on a very good team because of injuries and all that. He's your guy you're putting out there number one, and he pitched fine. And the real problem with the Marlins, it's amazing the Marlins are even here. I wrote this in my column the other day. They're last in the National League in runs scored, second to last in defense. They're 8th in team ERAs pitching and 22nd in payroll, and they made the playoffs. That tells you they won a lot of one-run games. I think 33-14 is the best record in the majors, and speaks well of them and speaks well of their bullpen and timely hitting, and let's face it, some luck too, because you win that many one-run games, you've had some good fortune.
No, I guess Skip Schumacher, as well, because unfortunately Don Mattingly had like the reverse record in those games, even though we love Donnie baseball. But
somebody from ESPN put out a stat. It was the biggest swing in one-run games since the 1936.
Oh, wow.
I want to say Braves or something like that.
Wow,
so that tells you a lot. Schumacher was great. Tim Ang made some moves. Bruce Sherman loosened the payroll just enough. They're 22nd, not 30th in the league in payroll, and they got out from under Derek Jeter, and that always helps. He was awful. He might be the worst general manager in my time here, and that's saying something considering the Dolphins. He got they were going to.
Here we mentioned Mike Tannenbaum.
You can go.
They were going to build through the
Jeff
draft
Ireland
and sacrifice seasons. And they have one player on the roster from the Jeter drafts, and that's the co-catcher
wow.
who they want to replace. So it was a disaster. Jeter was a complete disaster.
Pretty incredible. Lubie?
I was going to say, going into this year, we talked with you, and you sort of felt like us, where the moves like a rise seemed fun, but it felt cosmetic. We didn't know what it really meant. Well, look, they won over 80 games. They made it to the playoffs. I don't want to write their epithet yet. It's not officially over. It just sort of feels like
Lubie buried him, man. He's already calling a rabbi, the ceremony.
I know we're going to have you on until the earliest next week, so I want to get a head start, I guess. What do you do with this season? Was it a success, especially in Marlins lore, considering they've only made the playoffs 3 previous times?
It was a grand success. Are you kidding? No one thought they'd be here. No, I'm not even sure. They always say they did because they have to. But again, considering what they were up against, they won 69 games last year. They have no hitting in the minor leagues, and they need hitting desperately. They have some good young pitchers. Mel Stoudemire Jr. is the real unsung hero of the whole franchise. To keep developing young arms and having them go out there and pitch well. But yeah, it was a grand success. I really hate when people, they had no chance to win the World Series, so it's a failure. Come on, look at everything isn't about always winning the ring. Sometimes a season like this, you can enjoy it without knowing that there's a cap on it somewhere.
Well, and you also mentioned the absolutely feeble period of time there that just seemed to be sinking into a deeper abyss during Derek Jeter's tenure here, and then there was tension and all kinds of other acrimony going on. It seemed in the front office, almost to the point of verbal finger pointing. So I think they really needed a year like this. Did they not at least, in your opinion, Dave Hyde, and you have your finger on the pulse of this more so than we do with your columns every day and the feedback that you get, but I mean, did they not at least, sort of alter the narrative about the team where, people might consider taking a look at, using this as an entertainment vehicle next year and showing up at some games?
Absolutely. I remember being out at spring training, and the questions were, this is Kim Ng's last year under contract.
Yeah.
Is she going to be around next year? The other thing you mentioned a little, the trade for Arias, they're going to go try to win through small ball since they don't have any big bats. And it was like, that has no way of succeeding this year. And then there's always the payroll and Bruce Sherman and et cetera. And if you being honest and go through those moves now, how they all look, all of them look really good. All of them come out. It's not to say that, they found the path, because again, you win that many one-run games, you've had some good fortune. But at least you have some more faith in the people at the top and running the show and some decisions they made than you did, back in April.
And some serious acumen being shown by Kim Ng in the acquisitions at the trade deadline, because I didn't know much about Jake Berger, but I always look at batting average as the first consideration when I see a guy hitting 220 that strikes out all the time. I don't care so much that he might have 25 home runs. That seems like a kind of a nominal number by, today's standards. You have teams that have like 10 guys with 20 home runs on them. And yet she saw something, in this guy that apparently, he hadn't really exhibited yet, or certainly wasn't this season. And he was dynamite for the Marlins. And so was Josh Bell, who was the one guy that had a stick in his hands last night.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you, Defo. How to say you're old without saying you're old. Talk about batting average, right?
Is everybody hitting 250 now? Every guy that comes to the plate is batting 250 for the season or less. It's amazing.
Leading off for the Phillies.
Yeah.
Leading off for the Phillies, batting under 200. But
it's incredible.
Back to the idea, they needed some people, anybody with some power, and a lot of teams were looking for players with power, and they managed to do. Kim Ng managed to do almost the improbable, where they went out and they got two bats, and they really didn't raise their payroll at all. I mean, just a smidge, and those are the two things you need if you're the Marlins. Again, it's going to. We all know if for the Marlins to sustain success, they need kids coming up from the minors to help their payroll and all that stuff. But for what they were asked to do this year, this season was a great success.
No doubt, and all part of
Defo.
What's that?
I'm not counting them out.
He's not, unlike me.
Lubie already buried him. It's baseball. Anything can happen. We know that. They can come back tonight and win 11-1 just as easily as go out with a whimper.
Hey, Lubie.
Yes.
Lubie, did you bury the Heat after Game 6? Like
Probably.
me and everybody
yes,
else?
probably.
I think it was over? Yeah.
After that stupid ass shot that I still don't understand how Derek White got there. Yes, I thought it was clearly done.
Or the Panthers going into Game 7 in Boston.
No chance. Yeah.
No, the Panthers. By then, I was actually fully on the train. The Heat, after Derek White out of nowhere hits a stupid ass layup when they had played great defense, but couldn't remember that Derek White is on the court. That was like a gut punch that I'm like, how do you come back from that? Yes, I will admit that. So, you know me.
So this will take a similar type of comeback for the Marlins in the series, but no one thought they'd be here, so they're almost playing with house money.
Oh, they are.
And they've kind of been doing this all year long. I can't tell you how many times we threw in the towel, especially coming out of the All-Star break when they lost, 9 in a row. And it looked like things were just falling apart at the seams. It looked like one of those old, I don't know if you ever experienced this, Dave. You probably, being a young man that you are, did you ever play with the Japanese sawdust baseball at any time in your recreational ball playing career? They sold them for $1. They were hard balls that they sold for $1 when I was a kid, growing up in Brooklyn, and they looked great. And the first time a bat made contact with it, the seams came off and sawdust came flying out, which was the contents of the center of the ball. And it's happened many times during the course of the year where it looked like, they were an exploding cigar just ready to fall apart. And, they bounce back. So hopefully we'll get some, a decent play tonight and maybe force some drama and a third game of the series. That would, certainly be a fitting conclusion, win or lose at that point for the Marlins season, the way they played. All right. The G-Men come to town. Do you have tickets that you can sell for this game? I mean, because I'm not sure. Were they devalued greatly? I mean, I had probably, and I'm not even in the ticket game anymore where I have access to them. We used to, be able during the off hours, we would get to the radio station early, be able to raid the sales manager's desk and grab like a stack of Dolphin tickets. But I mean, this was such in hot demand, these giant tickets. Is it that big of a game at this point, or is it just a chance for the Dolphins to kind of shake off that Buffalo game and polish things up and clean up and go to 4-1?
Yeah, I think the next 2 weeks are really a good chance for the Dolphins to clean up some mistakes and get their defense on track, because they play the worst offense in the league right now in the Giants, worst scoring offense, and I don't know, Carolina's got to be down there too. So the next week, so the next 2 weeks, let the Dolphins come out of this as 5-1 with having three of the first 4 on the road and tough road games. I'm not saying Buffalo will be forgotten, because if Buffalo plays like that, if they're going to play like that, they're going to be almost impossible to beat, because they everything worked for them against the Dolphins on Sunday. But this is a chance for the Dolphins against a putrid Giants team to get some things straightened out.
Do you expect to see some kind of domination in this game? I think the line has actually climbed in the Dolphins' favor. I thought I saw 9 and a hook to open 10.5 right now. I'd be willing to lay it. I mean, it just looks like a complete mismatch on paper, does it not?
It looks like the Dolphins should have their way, and yet we all know in the NFL who knows. But yeah, I would. Look, the Giants gave up 11 sacks. 11 sacks.
Yes.
That's mind-boggling. And they're on a short week, and they're on the road. And, you can go down the list of problems they have, and all of it points to the Dolphins having their way somehow.
It's funny, too. You can't help but think of Jerry Glanville, right, with the NFL stands for not for long. Brian Daboll, the darling of last year's season.
Coach of the year.
Coach of the year.
Yeah.
And today in my sacred New York Post, they're laying it all on him and saying, hey, listen, man, if this guy can coach, he needs to find something right now. And that's probably true. And I don't know that he can. I mean, that confrontation that he had there, it was brief, but it's never a good sign when in week number 4, your coach is red-faced and running over to your quarterback and on the sidelines and saying, that just flat out sucks. And they just gave the guy $160 million, so that has to be hovering over Daniel Jones' head as well, no matter how cool of a customer he might be. But, that's been a disaster so far. Interesting, too. I mean, I don't know. Of all the stories this year, Dave Hyde, what has been your favorite? I mean, when we had the 2 teams in the college, kind of been recapping this frequently because it seems unbelievable. 2 teams in the postseason finals in the winter sports playing for the championship. 2 teams in the Final Four college basketball. Dolphins open up the season looking great. Hurricanes seem, they did have a game against Texas A&M, but, have shown signs of, real significant improvement. All in the other, college football teams in the state, I guess the Gators, still suspect, but Florida State sitting there in the top 5. Coco Gauff wins the U.S. Open, a local girl. I don't know how much grander can it get. Marlins make the postseason.
Don't forget Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka.
Koepka, yeah, another local guy.
And brought his trophies to both the Heat and the the Panthers game. So
what kind of methamphetamine,
walking
fentanyl?
into Disneyland this year.
Yeah.
Walking to Disneyland saying, what ride do I want to go to, right? I mean, all of them have been fun. They've been a blast because from Dusty May at Florida Atlantic and Nova Southeastern, I mean, talking to them and amazing, just a whole different way of thinking about basketball. If you ever watch them play, you should go out really and watch them. It's amazing. Then you know, is there anybody better to talk to? And I know you guys do, than Jim Larinaga.
Oh, we
love Larinaga, yeah, for sure.
Everything that's happened here this year, and it's like, where has this been for 2 decades?
Two? How about 4?
Is the Heat? Yeah, the Heat are the only team that's ever done anything in the past 20 years, and now we got great story piled on great story, and it's been a blast to cover. It's been a blast to, you know, what I always say about the Dolphins is I've had the misfortune to, in the last 30 plus years, meet people, good people, when the elevator's going down on their careers, one after another. And that's really no fun because you have to point out, well, okay, they're not making it, they're not doing it. It's a lot more fun to go out to Paul Maurice as he's riding the wave of this unlikely Panthers run and talk to him about what fun it is. So it's been a blast this year. I don't want this year to end. Keep it going.
Well, and what's great too about that run into the finals is that we were badly mistaken about a couple of things. You actually kind of had an epiphany click in for us because I thought forever that negativity sells in the local sports market. But I remember talking to you years ago, and you said, no, you're absolutely wrong, DeForest. You know, the more good things that happen, the more people respond, which we know that, but sports talk radio is so fueled by negativity where I guess, you know, with you writing the brilliant prose that you put out every day in the Sun Sentinel, you know, it's nice to have a more favorable theme. But you were right. I mean, you know, the winning has definitely been hugely influential, much more so than all of this negativity that we experienced over the years, which was great. I was going to ask you, I mean, was that picture in the Sun Sentinel? Did Brooks Koepka look like he was on a combination of methamphetamine and fentanyl when he was sitting in the stand? What was he snorting at that game, at that Panther game?
He was, shall we say, celebrating, huh? Celebrating that. Yeah, at least he didn't hold up a traffic cone this time, as he did when I think Aaron Ekblad got beat one time, saying he was a traffic cone on the ice. I think it was that. So, but to your point about good stories,
yeah,
it struck me. I really had that epiphany in 2003 when the Marlins won, and I was talking to the office one day, and they said, "Wow, you wouldn't believe they sold out every paper. Nobody can find a paper at any." Back then, of course, they were sold at the gas stations and 7-Eleven.
Yeah, there were racks on the streets so you could buy a
racks on the street. The guys at the red lights would sell them.
You come out of Denny's and there wasn't just triple X opportunities at various strip clubs, you know, among the publications that were in the little racks.
People were buying, you know, 10 papers, and it struck me. Good news sells, and bad news doesn't in the sports business. Everybody wants to. Those are the stories that sell, not ripping a coach or anything like that. Not that a little stirring up of the pot isn't fun for everybody once in a while, but in you know, the teams winning titles and making runs and bringing fans in. Look at empty seats at stadium. Every empty seat is one less reader. So I'm all for teams doing great.
Before we let you go, talk about it. You brought them up, the one franchise that has been consistent down here in South Florida. The last few years, it seemed to strike out every single time it's in it for a big name. This was the one time that he felt like a lock to get the big name. Problem is, they were negotiating with a team that didn't give a crap about making a good deal. They just wanted to screw their legendary player. What are your thoughts on the whole Dame, I guess, debacle at this point? The fact that he ended up not only not going to the Heat, but going to another team in the East, bolstering them and making them probably the outright favorite right now.
Yeah, it sure looked like the Portland GM said, got so mad at the Heat, he said, I'm going to trade them to the two teams that can do the most damage to the Heat. The Heat, it couldn't have worked out worse for the Heat. Milwaukee got Lillard, they're better. Boston ends up getting Drew Holiday, they're better. And the Heat really didn't make any offseason moves because they're sitting here waiting for this. So, you know, the Heat have shown you never say never, but, you know, they've been to the finals twice in the last 4 years. But it's even a harder trip this year because of what's happened this offseason. Unless something else, you know, Riley and Spoelstra can do something, you know, before the trade deadline or something like that. But right now, the Milwaukee and Boston are significantly better.
I would imagine, Dave, did you attend Heat Media Day by any chance?
No, I was coming back from Buffalo. I was at the Bills game. So
yeah? Oh, good. On the road. Very nice.
Yeah, nothing like Buffalo, right?
Probably had to pay your own way. But, well, I mean.
The sky is actually blue. The sky's blue in Buffalo. I never knew that.
It was nice. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
That's that one day of Indian summer where we used to, when I was at Syracuse, we used to all go out to the park and shoot hoops, you know, and that was it. Then it was, you know, find somebody to shack up with for the wintertime because it was going to be freezing cold out for the next 8 months. But, yeah, the Heat Media Day, I guess, you know, the big story was, did Jimmy Butler lose a bet? There was a guy, I was in Atlantic City. He got on a plane, you know, coming back, and kind of an older guy with white hair, and he had put some pink polka dots in it. And as he was stopping, looking at the overhead bins to see where he could stash his carry-on baggage, you know, as he passed me, I just looked at my wife and said, he must have lost a bet. Did you think, you know, Jimmy Butler lost a bet to sport that look?
I just shrug and say, well, he plays hard.
Is there any chance we will see that hairdo with Dave Hyde attached to it?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. We're trying to get Mayo to do it, and he might. I mean, knowing Mayo.
He might. Yeah, he would. Yeah, maybe Halloween, that'd be about it. You know, I remember when they had Jermaine O'Neal years ago, and he wasn't allowed to wear a sweatband and that a headband. And that was sort of a big controversy because Riley didn't allow that because he didn't think it fit with the culture and now you got Jimmy Butler walking in with, I don't know what that was.
I can't imagine. I mean, did Riley, was he aware of this, you know, appearance change by Butler before they started photographing him as the cover guy for the Heat?
You just shrug and move on and say, I guess Jimmy being Jimmy, and he must want the attention or something. I don't know. He thinks it's funny, so everybody laughs.
I laughed.
Move on.
Nobody really wants to challenge Jimmy Butler. He does seem like the type of guy that might just headbutt you. You know. All right, so I would imagine Riley's biggest fear now is that opposing players will be, you know, pocketing magnets and going out there and trying to, guard this guy. Does he change the look? This would be the question. Does he change that look before the opening game?
He looked like himself.
He's back. Yeah, he's back.
Yesterday he looked like himself.
Oh, yeah, he's back? Okay, so it was all a joke.
Day thing. It was. Yeah. He was calling it his Halloween. He was calling it his Halloween.
That's funny.
He must have thought that was funny. So,
all right, level of success, your estimation. Will we see? You can't count on teams going to the finals, back-to-back seasons. The Heat have done it. Do you see the Panthers and the Heat having some similar measure of success this year?
Yeah, they'll have a measure of success. No one saw last spring coming for either of them, and here we go again. The Panthers are missing their two best defensemen, right? Ekblad and Montour, or I don't know, two of their best 3 or 4 defensemen are on the shelf till December because of injury, and that's how they're going to start the season. So, but to predict the kind of success they had last, those were, once in a decade or whatever, once in 20 years runs, 25 years or into the Panthers. The Panthers hadn't won a series since '96. So you do the math and, how old we'll be. You'll be doing the show in 2047.
I'll look like Jimmy Butler did at that point. Happy to be breathing at all. That'd be great. All right, we'll let you run, Dave. Good stuff. And what's in the paper today again? You said you wrote a column about something other than the Marlins.
Talking about
the fish. Yeah, what they need to do. Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Should we fire Vic Fangio? Lubie started to spark that campaign after watching
Buffalo. I'm just curious about what the hell's going on.
Fire Vic Fangio. As a game passed him by.
That's the game passed him by.
You know, it's amazing. Everywhere he's been, he's built great defenses. 11 teams, I think it is, are running his defense, and so you look at the credibility he has, the career credibility. I'll give him some time, but that it wasn't pretty. Hasn't been a pretty start for him. No question.
No, attacked in a variety of ways too.
They figured out. Yeah, when do they figure it out? That's the real question.
All right, Dave, you've convinced me. I'm going to have to ante up the buck and go online, get the Sun Sentinel,
Every time.
for into perpetuity, which would be great. Because we love your columns, love having you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Thanks, Defo. Good seeing you, Lubie. We're hearing you.
All right, Hyde. We love you.
All right, Dave Hyde, ladies and gentlemen. Always thought, I don't know, is that true? Is it just different genres, right? I mean, you're going to sell more papers. Look, in the newspaper, right? What was the big thing? I mean, the team would win the championship, and they already had like a copy of the front page of the paper. Marlins are, world champions. And they were holding that up as they were having the post-game celebration. Obviously, the paper wasn't published yet, but in anticipation of the possibility, however remote, that they might win, they already had these things made up, and that thing would sell out. But sports talk radio over the years, what was it not more fueled by negativity? Lubie, people want to call up that they love to bitch. They're very much like you. They love to bitch about their teams and pick apart even the most obscure minutia. And it was especially true with the Miami Dolphins. And back in the heyday of the Hurricanes, you used to get that, although they were having so much success then that it kind of counterbalanced a little bit of what was going on the professional level here. The Dolphins weren't bad during the Marino years. I mean,
oh no, they were always good. What I got from
that was 30 years ago almost. No, that was like 24 years ago.
From our early days, when you would say negativity sells, when your team is pretty good and they look bad, yes, people love to bitch. The problem is the other thing you say a lot. It's not hatred that's bad. It's just not giving a shit. That's what's
indifference. Yeah,
indifference is what. So when you're good and you have an off day, people love to bitch about that. But when you're consistently mediocre for 5 to 10 years, that is a problem. Then it's not just negativity. It's just okay. You're the Lions with the bag over your head. Like, what is there to talk about when you're bad for 10 straight years?
Saints, the Saints.
And that's what Hyde was talking about when Hyde said this like 4 or 5 years ago to you. We were in the mire. We were mired, and literally every team was bad for like 3 years.
Well, and people become detached, at that point. And I think they have. I mean, there's a huge detachment with the Marlins that this isn't necessarily any kind of quick fix. You would hope that it would translate to more, interest at least early in the season. That there would be the possibility that you come close to selling out your opening day game. And the Marlins did this. I mean, think about it. It was Sandy Alcantara first having a lousy season and then sort of finding himself a little bit, but not necessarily on the kind of consistent basis we saw when he was a Lights Out Cy Young Award winner the previous season. So you're doing this without an ace. And then they had all these young guys, as Dave was talking about, that seemed to have been brilliantly brought along by Mel Stottlemyre Jr. And, obviously a lot of raw talent as well. And yet they were limited because you couldn't have a guy go from pitching 70 innings a year in the minors to, all of a sudden he's going to throw like 200 innings for you.
Yep.
So, you were sort of, handcuffed in what you could do with these guys. I'm amazed they even have 2 guys to throw out there in this Phillies series. Because I guess Cabrera, is he going to be the?
Edwin Cabrera, I think, is the 3rd starter. I just don't know if we get there.
So think about that. If you get there, look, is there not at least a 40-60 chance that the Marlins? This is baseball, where it wasn't like the Phillies, won 130 games this year or anything. These aren't the 27 Yankees.
No. I mean, their lineup's not that scary, to be really honest, especially without Rhys Hoskins. Look, they've actually played well with Garrett. That's the funny thing. I've given him shit because I think he's like a long reliever, to be brutally honest. But he was their most consistent pitcher, like he was, and they play behind him really well. So there's nothing to say that they can't come back tonight. It's just the way that they we're seeing the ball last night. Scares the living crap out of me. Now, maybe again, it's Wheeler. Wheeler is supposedly as consistent a pitcher there has been in the last 5 years. Okay, so maybe that was it. He's been
Wheeler's been excellent for the Phillies, no question.
One between the Phillies and whatever else he's been. He's played. I think he's pitched in the playoffs a lot. Like the Marlins clearly.
He was. I think their big gun last year in the postseason. I'm pretty sure he was their top guy all the way through. Had a real successful postseason. He might have got shelled, but I want to say that. I'm going to go on record as saying he had a good postseason last year, Zach Wheeler. I don't think the Phillies would have made the World Series if this guy was, a shell of himself from what he was in a regular season. But look, you can't in baseball. It's even more arbitrary.
Yeah.
The results than you would find in football, where I'm looking at these lines. I'm trying to see what jumps off the page, Lubie. We'll get into this in the next segment of the program here. Good to have you guys with us. Thanks so much to Dave Hyde for joining us here on the show. And we will continue with more of the Defo Show on this Wednesday. Tony joined us yesterday for you Tony Segredo fans out there. You were a little nervous about Tony driving to Vermont by himself with no dog.
I haven't heard from him, by the way. I want his update. He went by himself, not even because his dog passed, I guess, a couple years back.
Yeah.
So they used to be his partner.
How come I was unaware of that?
He told us
Hey, how's the dog, Tony?
When we were talking about Skippy, remember your dog's
yeah.
a miraculous comeback, but when we all were worried about Skippy, he told both of us about his dog.
Skippy's made more comebacks than Roberto Duran. He really has. Manos de Piedra. You're in some, X-rated theater in Tijuana, and Duran's the feature bout. And you're thinking, wow, they have boxing there tonight. That's great. Coming back from absolute oblivion, but he's so his dog checked out. We haven't heard from Tony, huh?
I just reached out to him now because I told him on air and via
Tony,
text.
where the fuck are you? But he'll be texting while driving if he's driving already.
Well, I think I think that's the one thing he does is he doesn't do I'm going to do 18 hours straight kind of a thing. Like I think that's why he likes driving. He'll stop.
Remember when you used to be able to do that, man? I drove from Texas, some remote place in Texas. No, I drove from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way through Texas, and I'm in an MGB 1981, month of July, I still remember. And I drove from Phoenix, Arizona to Pensacola, Florida without stopping.
Oh, good for you.
That is fucked up. Who would do that? Every time I saw the next reasonable city that might even have like a Motel 6, what was within 300 miles, I said, yeah, 300. I could do that standing on my head there.
Yep.
Just drove straight through. It was quite a challenge. And then I slept for 24 hours.
There you go.
No, I got down to the front desk. I'll never forget this. And the lady had me, being charged for 2 nights. And I was like, wait a minute. I was only here, I got here yesterday. She says, no, you didn't. You checked in on Wednesday. It's Friday.
You missed the whole day.
I missed the whole fucking day. That was the first time I saw ESPN, too, because I didn't have ESPN on the cable systems in California before I left there in 1981. And it was great. I think before I fell asleep for 24 hours, I had seen like 17 Bobby Ches fights. But that was a long stretch. I would never want to do that again. And then, of course, Pensacola down here is nothing after that. It's like turn back in distance from 1 mile and 1/16 to 6 furlongs. Yep. It's fantastic. Yeah, just buzz down here. And I remember being impressed with the idea that there's a lot of fucking wilderness in Florida. And it all looks the same.
From Tallahassee to West Palm.
Especially then. Wow.
Still.
Turnpike my ass.
It's a lot of nothing.
This looks like you're seeing, Vietnam clips, where they were, taking an aerial of the jungles. I mean, it was like there was nothing going on. It's incredible. I guess they've mowed down some of that stuff and, put in buildings and whatever. All right. We're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Now that.
Time.
Had to double clutch on what show this was. It's 9:10.
We're doing like 5.
Folks, Tony Segredo here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten my sugar now.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
Clinging to an old concept here, that is interesting. Dave Hyde, you would think with the Marlins making the postseason for only the fourth time in franchise history, third time under non-Fugazi circumstances, in 30 years. This is the 30-year anniversary of the team. They began in 1993. So is it 30 or 31 years that they've been playing?
I don't know.
Didn't they fuck that up somehow, or we couldn't do the math and figure it out?
30, but it's really 31, someone said.
I struggle with that, like number of seasons where, is it one more? Is it one less? I don't know. Does everybody have that same mathematical problem? And I'm decent at math because of, obviously the degenerate math systems that we're big proponents of, where you can calculate 2860 times 7.5, almost, in your head instantaneously. Although right now I would be challenged to do it, but it's good having like a real sports section here. I mean, how could that be that a major newspaper in the United States of America, South Florida Sun Sentinel, was always winning awards? They've got Pulitzers, got all kinds of stuff, right? They win all kinds of Florida sports coverage awards.
Oh yeah,
and you have a circumstance here where this is so rare. You have literally yet another Cinderella story unfolding right in front of your face here. And you're in Philadelphia. It's not that far away, right? I mean, it's not like you got to send somebody to Guam or something, or across the pond.
Buffalo. Hyde was in Buffalo. Why couldn't you get him from Buffalo to Philadelphia?
Or somebody. I mean, they don't have a guy that does the Marlins beat, I guess.
Beat writer. No, they don't have a Marlins beat writer.
Isn't it time to find one? I mean, how do you have a major professional sport in a town where you have supposedly a top-notch, top-flight newspaper? And you're going to, that's why I'm reviled. I mean, just repulsed when the rare occasion when my New York Post delivery person, who also delivers the Sun Sentinel, which the Post here, I guess in South Florida, is printed by the Sun Sentinel and distributed by their people. So, it makes sense, right? They're not flying these newspapers down, on JetBlue.
No.
And saying, okay, yeah. Was there a time where that happened in the industry where, like, if you had an out-of-town paper, somebody had to fly them in from, like, New York?
Probably shipped it.
I want to say yes to that. Don't you?
Computers. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and every now and then, like, well, you know what, the flight was canceled or whatever. They couldn't get the paper here on time. But, I mean, to not have somebody, this is something that is so open to stories. I mean, you have a Dave Dombrowski connection to the original Marlins, for God's sake, in their first World Series. He's sitting there in Philadelphia. You would thought that they would, at least want to pursue a story with him or something. You have JT Real Muto, who was part of a Marlins team that was showing so much promise, but they had to bust it up because they didn't have the money. And, they had the money. Laurie and Sampson, they were going to eventually make the money in bales, but didn't want to, they were reluctant to spend it on these guys. So they got rid of all of them. Yep. And it was not the first time. I mean, we had this problem in 1997 to win the World Series. You've got a bunch of big names on your roster, names that might attract people to come and actually build a foundation of a fan base. Yep. And what happens, man? I mean, amazing Kreskin time, right? Whoosh! Pulls the tablecloth out, and all the dishes are still in place.
Yep.
Did Frankie Tallarico do that at the Casa Calabria one day? He would be capable of just going, 100%. And then all the dishes and the forks, the service items are all still in the same place. I always loved that trick, man. I used to do that on the old Ed Sullivan show. They had a variety of guys attempting it, and you'd think, wow, that's not going to go well. Should we try that today at Heritage? Is that like a... tablecloth.
By the way, okay, well, two things. First of all, I do want to show love. I don't know why we haven't had him on. We're supposed to have him on regularly, so I have to reach out to FIU because we're having this guy.
Oh, Mike McIntyre plays tonight.
Pretty well. They've actually played pretty well. I know they've been in and out.
No, he's done a good job there, you would have to say.
They play the next, I think, 4 Wednesdays, and I don't think he was a fan of that, but they're the only game on Wednesday, so he'll get national attention. They play New Mexico State tonight. They're laying 6.5. I'm, of course, riding with.
No, they're getting 6.5.
Oh, they're the
Yeah, the underdog. They're on the road.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're getting 6.5, so I'm definitely going with FIU tonight. They play at 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. The FIU Golden.
Well, I think I don't know that McIntyre was not in favor of these Wednesday night games. Did he say that on the show?
Sarney saw him do Sarney saw him do a presser where he said, of course, he'd rather play on Saturdays. You get more time.
Yeah,
but he's not going to turn down the national attention. Like he's happy to be there.
Well, and it was, I would think, very beneficial for these guys because look, what do you want to do if you're going to go to one of these programs that is not exactly mainstream? I mean, if you're going to Ohio State, you're going to get plenty of exposure. If you're going to FSU, you're going to get plenty of exposure. Even to a lesser extent these days, the University of Miami. But you're going to be on TV somewhere in all likelihood. ACC Network, whatever.
Yeah.
But this CBS Sports Network takes these games. In fact, that's the reason I got to see. I don't have it anymore on my new feeble cable system that I purchased here at the Homeowners Association. What the fuck do they do with my $1,200, Lubie?
Your association fee is something I've never seen. Like my old house,
it's exorbitant. Yeah,
it was $400. It started at $250 and somehow became $400.
I used to pay a nickel at the Barefoot Beach Villas. Yeah.
Well, that's sort of standard, $400 or $500.
Yeah.
You pay like a mortgage. I like literally our mortgage.
It literally is. Yeah. I mean, I would have no payment here if it wasn't for that. That's a fat fee, and then there's like an assessment coming. It's like a gargantuan one somewhere down the road. So it may be time to make a quick exit here. And the place is good though. I mean, at least it went up in value while I was here, and I didn't do anything to it, especially. So that was good. So I may have to make an escape. Would we still be able to be in touch, Lubie, on a regular enough basis if I moved to Melbourne or something? Believe me, it's crossed my mind. I don't know that I could be in a place that didn't have action, though. Even if I don't participate in the action, I just like the possibility of it, don't you? Action in terms of great places to. Be entertained, whether you're talking about, various casino opportunities, racetracks, whatever. Of course, restaurants. We talk about it all the time on the Mayo Lunchbox. It's beyond amazing. Anybody that knocks the local dining scene is just flat out crazy.
Well, so Julian just came up with something, and I'm very curious, and we will have to talk about this with Mayo Wallet Hub, which I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
Came out with a thing, best foodie cities, and Florida has 3 in it. Orlando is number 1.
Orlando would be last on my list, and it's last on the list with people from Orlando as well.
Miami's number 4, Tampa's number 6, but
Tampa's not bad.
20. So do they mean like best fast foodie cities? Like like Orlando's only good for the random fast food you haven't seen in 15
That sounds like it's best food period overall.
But like Orlando,
Orlando's terrible. I tell you why Orlando's bad, and Mustang goes there frequently since she grew up there, and so
my wife is from there. I was there like 3 times a year.
Yeah, I mean, and I've hung out with her good friends. We usually stay at their place when or nearby so that we can do things together. And they try to find good places in Orlando, which there are some, but pales in comparison to what you have here. And then Orlando is the proving ground. It's the fundamental starting point for most chain restaurants.
Yes.
They use Orlando because I guess they're getting tourists from all over the place. So instead of being in one city, they're kind of getting a sampling of what people think from around the world about their product. And so, that's what they mostly consist of is maybe very good, but mostly chain restaurants.
Well, what do you mean? That's literally, you like making fun of me because I'm the guy. I like weirdo fast food chains that I've never had before.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm a fan of it also.
But, I'm weird about it. Like you'll go. Oh, they have a jacket.
Well, when you wanted to go to Del Taco while we were on the stations, well, it wasn't even a stations budget, but we had some advertising money that was put towards our expenses, and we're in Dallas, Texas, and I'm thinking there has to be like a better restaurant around here than Del Taco, which I was familiar with because at one time Del Taco was kind of a go-to place for me when I was doing radio in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And we used to hang out at the station there late at night because there were a bunch of guys that all came together around that time, and we just had a lot of fun together. And we were putting some sports reports together also for the next day. And then the only things open were like Taco Bell and Del Taco, and and Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box.
So I used to frequent all of them. Del Taco isn't terrible, Louie. I would say that.
Taco Bell.
You have to get the green hot sauce if you're going to Del Taco.
It's better than
That's what you want.
But that's what Orlando's good for. Is like, oh shit, they have an Uno from Chicago. I've never heard of Uno. I've never had Uno.
Yeah.
Oh, they have Del Taco. We don't have that in South Florida. Oh, before we got them, they have Sonic. Like that's what they're not good for.
Is Sonic good? You know what? I haven't. I can't recall. Anytime recently. I'm sure I've been to one, but I'm not inclined to go out and get like any kind of fast food burger at this point. And eat it for lunch. Just too much. You kind of, when you're an old fart like me, I mean, it just sits in your belly like a bowling ball.
Yep.
So it's kind of tough to consume that kind of, volume at a lunch meal or even later on. But is Sonic good? I mean, it looks like I want to say that it would get favorable reviews. No, Sonic as a fast food joint.
They have good breakfast items, and they have chili cheese tots, which is a weirdo thing that they have that I love, and their shakes are good. Yeah. But the rest of the food, they have a coney dog, so Mayo would like it. They have a shitty hot dog that they smother in chili and cheese.
But is it real chili though?
It's better than Skyline chili.
Yeah, the only beef with Skyline chili is, no pun intended, that the chili doesn't taste anything like chili. So it's a complete.
Yeah, there's
you talk about inflating the value of your properties down here. That old fart judge, man, does not have any great inclination to be favorable to the Trumpster.
Oh, that's great. Yes,
and this glaring, staring match that he's putting on, does that get him elected president? It might.
I don't know.
That would be incredible. Then it would be time to consider. Never mind moving to Melbourne. It'd be time to consider moving to Melbourne, Australia. Would it not, Lubie? Would you leave the country if this happens again? Or would you just kind of hang in there and hope that it didn't have, the impact on you that you might anticipate?
I mean, I'm not running right now, but the way things are going in our state, it's
our state's going completely fascist at this point. No
I
doubt.
saw something the other day. I got
Gates is going to be governor. I don't doubt that for a second.
I mean, we literally are getting worse. We went from
has better hair than DeSantis, also in the same evil look.
Lon Childs to Bush, who wasn't great, to Chris, who was okay, to then Scott, who was an outright criminal, to then DeSantis, who was an outright is vastly a fascist. I wouldn't doubt it to really sink to a guy who you understand why he gets elected. Hyde was wondering. I didn't realize that. Like, he lives in like a military town, and his dad is like a famous military hero.
He looks the part of evil, doesn't he?
So
I mean, he just looks the part.
It's not that he's actually popular. He's in an area where his dad was like a developer or something. Like, his dad helped build the town, so that's why he gets elected.
Usually you end up filthy rich from that too.
Yes,
as was the case in Tequesta, Florida, with Buzz DeFosta, who I became familiar with, even though I never met the man, through Jersey Kyle Martinez and his relationship with the lovely Tequesta Kathy.
Yep.
And you were thinking, oh, yeah, your dad came here when this was a plot of just swampland, huh? So he was the guy. Who said, I got some swampland in Florida I could sell you. And he said, yeah, sure.
He actually took it.
And he fucking filled it in. And guess what? He's got a boat that makes DiCaprio's yacht look like a dinghy. It's incredible.
Exactly.
And Kyle was on it, which was great. They brought that jet bag, too. How weird was that? I mean, you talk about a transformation. I love the guy, but, because he represents a lot of things that I think are good in life.
Yes.
Jersey Kyle Martinez, a good friend. Hopefully make a return someday to the show. Although I think he's off into
this long, and I mean, it's got to be something real deal. It's been a while. It's been since we were firmly on the radio.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's going the distance. I'm thinking, he's going the full 12 rounds with her. They're going to the scorecards on that one.
You know how he is when he's in. He's like a whole different fucking guy. He's like
completely different. It's like he didn't know me at the airport.
He's like in his own world.
I think he was afraid that I would notice that instead of that seedy looking jet bag that he had, I'm talking about New York jets, which, and this was a bag that was actually pissed on by the people at Logan Airport in Boston. The baggage handlers actually peed on his bag.
You brought it everywhere. What do you mean? We went to Vegas.
Everywhere.
We went to Kentucky on the Duke's plane. He had that fucking bag.
That bag, right? The pilot, Eddie Salzman, turns around and goes, "Something really stinks in here. I mean, should I have a mechanic come?" And then Cal said, "No, it's my bag." So I mean, all of a sudden, literally, Lubie, he has a slick leather bag that you would expect, even Paris Hilton would. Be proud to, display in one of those commercials for the Hilton hotels.
Good for him.
Wheeling it. Wheeling it.
Hello, Jeffrey. You're like,
yeah. Mr. DeForest, how are you, man? You still doing radio? Oh, it's over? Huh? How you holding up with Lubie? Is he still alive? Great. And he goes to like the back row. No, he was very friendly.
I love it. I can't talk. You see the life I live now. So if anyone's been captivated by a woman, it's
well, you had that tendency also.
I can't hate on him.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting because he's always the one that pokes fun at everyone else. Then the minute he's in a relationship, you don't hear from him for like a year and a half.
Several years now, yeah. It's good to see him. Yeah, it really was. He's a good guy. Yeah. All right, we're going to come back with more here and wrap things up. We'll be with you till about 20 to 10 here this morning. That's our new thing. We're not getting lazy. We just have other things to do. And then potentially, Lubie, what do you think? I mean, this other thing that's working, we're going to be making some kind of a big announcement in the next couple of weeks. And will we be able to handle it, and how will it work?
We will do it. We will handle it. I do not know how it will work. And I'm not making any announcements until things are signed.
No, it has to be official. Yeah,
we're giving thumbs up to make. I won't even tell Mayo, who's literally a partner with us in most of our endeavors, just because I've learned through life to not say shit until they.
No, I mean this is one of those deals where you definitely don't want to count on it until the money's in the bank. That's for sure.
It's not even a count on aspect. This one I feel like is happening. It's just
I believe it'll happen.
It's a big enough deal where I'm not going to be the one to say shit until they tell me to say shit.
You know what I mean? And we've been involved in a lot of ventures so far. I mean, we're still fishing around to try and find our spot here. But maybe we should, send some stuff to Portnoy or something and see if we can't cash in on this guy's success. Which have they changed their attitude any on Barstool Sports? I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen anything outside of Stu Feiner. Some clips of Stu Feiner on Barstool Sports. But remember, I mean, they kind of they built their foundation on being outrageously, I mean, just to the point of, taking poor taste to an exponent that you wouldn't necessarily even want to admit that you watch this stuff. No?
I mean, I don't know if it was borderline or definitively misogynist.
It wasn't borderline. I mean, Portnoy with Samantha Ponder. I mean, stuff he said about her. I mean, you're looking at it going, my God, who would want to follow this guy?
Yeah, so I never got into their stuff. I know they've become more mainstream with the gambling and this and that.
I think that was to their detriment, maybe, though. No, that's how Portnoy ended up getting the thing back. I don't know the whole story.
He's making money. He's doing fine. He's become a pizza.
Oh, he's fine. Yeah, no.
He's a fucking pizza expert, even though whatever review Mayo has sent me, I never got anything out of it. I was never like, yeah, I need to go eat that pizza. He really described it so well. As much as we make fun of it.
He was right about Costas. They're
he'll say they're good or bad, but he doesn't like the way. I'll give Mayo credit as much as we give him shit. When he's in that mode, he really describes things to a point where you can attest if you want to try it or not. Like
he's like Andy Beyer talking about horses when he starts going into all of the like ingredients and the history of the pizza and the whole thing and the cheese. No, it's good. I mean, that's when Mayo's on his game.
But like he'll make me want to try things. Like whenever I've seen any of Portnoy's videos, they're very generic. Like it's crunchiness.
It doesn't seem to be too distinguishable one from the other. I would agree with you with that.
It doesn't make me want to go try the pizza. Yeah. And we like Costas and we like Pizza Spot and we like
Pizza Spot. Now he gave them a favorable review, although not high enough to satisfy Mayo. He thought that was bogus. But I mean, it's one man's opinion, right? And it wasn't like he was saying that don't come here. The stuff sucks. He gave him a very favorable, high praise review. I think he's upped his scoring system now.
Okay.
It's kind of like, as you go through, speaking of Dancing with the Stars, successive rounds of Dancing with the Stars, where like in the beginning, everybody's getting 5s and 6s. And then, at the end, everybody gets 10s all the way across the board. 10. Has all of this become these so-called reality shows? I mean, they're all just a fraud. Is that true? I mean, going all the way back, you would have to think that The Apprentice was rigged, no?
Oh, yeah. That's my problem with the reality shows, and surely we'll watch some of them. They're all bullshit.
Yeah.
They're all a little garbage.
Total crap. Yeah. Well, we've had a few of the hosts on. They talk a pretty good game. They make it sound like it's all legit, don't they?
They do.
We have Jeff Probst on one time, the Survivor guy.
Probst on. We had Phil, the guy who does Amazing Race.
Yeah, the Amazing Race guy. He's kind of interesting. At least he would play ball with us. Yeah, he was good. All right, we're going to come back with more in a moment. We'll come back and have a few. I have a little review here, a report card that somebody did that I was going to borrow some material from on the young quarterbacks, how they're doing so far. Not just the rookies, but like the guys 1-2 years in the league. Okay. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Did that just turn everybody off? That sounds exciting, Dave. Why don't you talk about the baseball draft again? It's 9:31. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
All right, Lubie expecting the Marlins to get creamed tonight, so that'll be it for the baseball season. We'll be writing the Marlins epitaph on the show here tomorrow. Stitches, who has had a losing season this year. He had a great year last year picking baseball. He is in the New York Post, one of their handicappers. He does it from, kind of a lighthearted approach, although he does keep accurate count of where he stands, which is good. Accountability is really, I think, the number one thing about being a public handicapper today. Let me know. If you're losing your ass, fine. Just go ahead and say so.
Yep.
He says, if the Phillies don't make quick work of the Marlins, we may be voted out faster than you can say Kevin McCarthy. That was big yesterday, man. Did that matter at all? I mean, all the Democrats wanted him out anyway, so.
I don't get what it is. I don't know why the Republicans.
The right-wing fascist, I mean, the most extreme MAGA Republicans, they're on the side of the Democrats.
Well, they want.
The people they hate, they despise.
He wasn't willing to go as far as they wanted him to go, but it's like, how far do you want to go? Like, why would you root on a government shutdown? Like, they want to win, not even win, actually, because they don't win. They want the Democrats to lose so bad that they want to ruin the country.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just pull the plug on democracy. I mean, that'd be great. I think that's more, the direction that these guys are trying to head in. And as Dave Hyde said, I mean, with no ideas of their own, like nothing. You never hear one of these guys say, hey, you know what? What we really ought to do is make sure that, these poor people get the help that they need here. And, so that's why I want to spend this money in America and not necessarily send it to the Ukraine or whatever, which, that's a whole nother thing. But, never an idea about, like, how to actually solve a problem ever, except just to hate somebody that happens to represent a different point of view. All right, Stitches, Speaker of the Donuts, of the Droughts, Speaker of the Droughts. Good line there.
Okay.
Had a rough day one in the wild card series openers, counting on the Phillies and Aaron Nola to provide some stability Nola is 2-2 in the postseason and was sharp in his season ender, allowing 1 run over 6 2/3 to the Pirates. However, Nola had trouble reeling in the fish this year, allowing 8 runs over 10 1/3. Miami's Braxton Garrett will be making his postseason debut. Garrett watched the Mutts, actually, he referred to him as, score 4 runs over 4 frames in his final start, and Phillies score 6 runs in 10 innings during the regular season. Says put down a fast 50 on the Philadelphia Phillies today. It's not a overwhelming argument, is it?
No, it's not positive.
We shall overcome. I want to see a Game 3 desperately. I really do. I don't care if the Marlins lose 11-1 in Game 3. I just want to see one. I want this thing going to Thursday.
You don't want to be the Twins. You want to at least win a game.
And you don't want to go out, kind of flatlining, do you?
Definitely not.
When that happens on the television show, they're going to the credits. And we don't really want to see that, do we? This is $1 Million Baby, and she finally checked out. All right. Thank God. Hillary Swank, man. The thought of Hillary Swank on her deathbed there, I mean, I don't want to feel that way throughout this ball game tonight. Do you, Lubie? I mean, that would be
no.
All right, quick look. This looked like my report card. I mean, report card in high school and or my college transcript, the grades that are being given to these young quarterbacks so far. This was out of CBS Sportsline. Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh, injured now, hasn't looked all that great. I mean, does he look like?
No.
We thought, Pittsburgh may be a good fit here. Roethlisberger's checking out. He's going to get a chance to start right away. Mike Tomlin, good coach. That situation looks, somewhat disastrous in Pittsburgh in general. There's a lot of turmoil now about changes in the coaching staff and whether or not they want to make them right away. Tomlin, being the straight-laced guy that he is, you talk about militaristic.
Yeah.
We're going to line up and play with what we got.
Okay, good luck. Pickett sucks.
No, they suck. Kenny Pickett getting a C- for the season so far from this guy. Desmond Ridder, Atlanta Falcons.
I mean, he's not there.
Not exactly inspiring, which leads me to want to take a look at this this line here. The Falcons are favored by 1.5 over the Houston Texans, who have been a surprise so far. And C.J. Stroud, you would have to say,
that's playing well
among these young quarterbacks, has distinguished himself probably more than others. Bryce Young looks like a bust, doesn't he?
Well, they don't let him. Their line sucks. They have no skill position talent, and they don't let him do anything.
No, I mean, he's doodling around there.
Like it's like Chad Pennington. It's like really weird where we don't. He may be bad, but I can't say he's bad because they don't let him do anything outside of like 3-yard.
Dink, dunk, Chad Henne, unbelievable.
Yeah, weird. I don't know.
I mean, you probably have no chance anyway. So what are you trying to do there? Just get the guy, some kind of idea about what the rhythm of the game is all about, and then not get him hurt.
Yeah, you don't want to get him killed, I guess.
He's kind of a slight framed guy anyway. Bryce Young. I wasn't sure that he had the stature to be a big-time pro quarterback. Did you? I mean, it's not like he's not like one of these Caleb Williams running machines. No. If he's going to have to be a pocket passer, he's going to get hammered, isn't he?
Well, that was the fear with both of them, Stroud and Young. Young's even smaller than Stroud, and so far the Texans, actually, as bad as they were, have a decent line, and that's saving Stroud's ass. The Panthers really don't. They don't have really anything on the offensive side of the ball. And that's going to be to Young's detriment. He's short and he's thin. Like that's the thing. He may not be 6 foot. He may be like 5 feet. Like, and he's slight. It's like, oh, okay. Good luck.
It didn't overwhelm me from a physical stature standpoint. That's for sure. C.J. Stroud got a C+ in this thing.
No, he's been
for the season so far. C.J. Stroud.
No, he's been good.
Boy, this really does look like my transcript. That the best grade is a B for Purdy.
Oh, Purdy's only getting a B.
Yeah.
Purdy's been great.
Sam Howell has a B- with Washington. The Commanders are favored in the Thursday night game by 5.5 over the hapless Bears. The Bears are on the road too in this one. The Commanders haven't been bad, have they? I mean, they've pretty much been in most of their games, have they not? Who did they take? They took Philadelphia in overtime.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They should have beat Philadelphia. They outplayed them most of the game.
So, I mean, would you go ahead? The Bears are so bad. How could you ever lay any money on the Chicago Bears? 5.5.
They actually had a game last week versus the crappy Broncos and found a way to lose that game.
Yeah, weren't they up like 20 points or something? Some ridiculous margin going into the fourth quarter, and I think lost the lead. All right. Anyway, we'll take a deeper look at that on our Degenerate Friday show. Certainly, we'll have some steam on the upcoming college games. Good luck to our good friend Mike McIntyre, coach of FIU tonight. Lubie says take the points on the road against New Mexico State. Florida International getting 6 and a hook. The hook is always the thing, isn't it? The hook is like that fork ball at the last second, diving. You're lunging like John Birdie. I'm like, wow, how did you get so far off balance there? And you're going to swing at that shit? Unbelievable. A disciplined hitter like you, a guy who's been great. The guy nearly hit 300 for the season. I was very, very happy to see the success that John Birdie had because I like that kind of ball player, a guy that just comes, plays ball, hustles every night.
Tough, yeah.
I mean, he shouldn't be one of your best players, but
No.
he's a functional catalyst. If you have him in your lineup and he's hitting 8th or 9th, what's wrong with? And on the bases, dynamite on the bases as well. A lot more stolen bases too. Did you see who was it that was 31 for 31 stealing bases? Was that Trey Turner?
Oh, I don't know. I know
for the Phillies.
70.
He stole his 31st base last night. I believe it was Trey Turner, and it's 31 for 31. Like Lou Brock, never getting thrown out. Even Brock got thrown out once in a while. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll have Dave Gurgles Gurgley, we believe, with the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. So your challenge players, be ready for a real mental test and a test of your sports intellect. And we'll have that for you tomorrow. Mike Mayo later on with the lunchbox from Heritage. Is it Heritage or La Heritage?
I think it's
just Heritage.
I think it's Heritage, and I think it's an Italian. So did you ask Mayo if it's Italian, and he mocked you? Because if you look at their menu, everything's an Italian dish.
I never mentioned it. He might have mocked me anyway, just not even understanding.
I thought you brought out. I thought you said something out of being an Italian restaurant. And he was like, "No way, maybe that's another place." Because
I wouldn't have known how to characterize it because I didn't realize that they were so heavily Italian influenced. Because I knew they made pizzas. That was about it. And I wasn't sure about this bolognese sauce, which I hope to get a taste of, Lubie.
Yeah, we'll cross.
Well, you don't know. I mean, they could put anything out there. If there's a belief that Mayo always wants to have grilled octopus, though, I hope they don't. I
don't know if they have
throw that in because then that's all his for sure. All right, we'll see you later on today with that. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:42.
Damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.